guys, this is Edna. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do a video react of Keke Palmer's with her guest Demi Lovato on her podcast called Baby, This is Keke Palmer. So I saw a few clips online of this particular interview podcast, and I was very curious to see the full episode. So today we are going to see the full episode and I'm going to react to it. Hopefully we learn something about both of them. I know Demi Lovato from Camp Rock. Keke Palmer, I don't remember to watch her on a particular show. I think I started to see her in different places. But yes, I know both of them. I recognize the faces. But it's going to be interesting to see what they have like in common, especially because they started this career when they were very young and they transitioned to be children to women on TV while everybody was watching. So I'm sure this episode is going to be very interesting. Let's start.
Good.
We gotta go back to the beginning because both of us started out as kids.
Yeah.
But you started out on Barney, girl.
I did.
Barney, I
The
love
big purple
Barney as a
dinosaur.
kid.
I did too.
Girl, when I was little, my mom used to make me and my sister, like, whenever we would argue, we would sing the Barney sister song. Where it's like, sometimes we're real close friends. We stay up late and talk at night. Like, I was obsessed with Barney.
I never saw that song,
It was
and
like
I never
an old
performed
one.
it.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was like because it's when we think about it, Barney's been around for a long
A
time.
long time.
He was like, yeah,
Iconic.
So I never saw Barney, so I never saw that show. I think I must be similar age to both of them, or maybe older. I'm not really sure. I only started watching Disney Channel when I was around 12, I think, 11, 12. So I've missed some of the shows, or maybe I just focused my attention in others. I can't fully remember now what I was watching at the time, but I don't know Barney's. No, I think Bernie's is a show that she was in before she go into Disney. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I don't know.
I had so much fun working on Disney Channel. I was thriving, but at the same time, it was coupled with a lot of struggles. I was struggling with my mental health at the time, so I really was kind of I let the pressure get to me, and it was really challenging. It's hard to carry a show by yourself at 16 years old, and I ended up having a blast. I made incredible friends that I've stayed friends with, and it was a good experience. But it was a lot of pressure, and I did struggle on that show.
What do you think was the hardest part for you? Because I know for me growing up, like, I don't know what your background was in Dallas, but I came from a very, like, lower working class family. So getting into Disney, Nickelodeon, having my own show, I became the breadwinner of my family just by proxy. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just what happened. They had to help with my career, and we're seeing money that we never had seen.
Oh, absolutely.
And that stress for me, especially not being able to process it, that was like a big triggering point. And then never wanting to, like, be sad or make anybody feel like bad about it because I don't want them to be stressed, like, and then not having a lot of time to, like, have fun and be a kid.
Yeah, for me, I actually was like, I had this, like, mantra that was like, if you're gonna work me like an adult, I'm gonna party like an adult.
Oh.
And I got into some bad stuff at a young age, and that's when I started, like, self-medicating, and I wish that I had stayed more focused. Obviously, I think the course of my life would have gone in a different direction, meaning, like, I wouldn't have maybe struggled as much with substances later down the road. But, like, everything happens for a reason, and I'm sitting here in this state of mind today, like.
It's very interesting to see that Demi Lovato, she started to struggle with substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, and so on, since such an early age. So before she was 18, she was already struggling with it because she was struggling with the pressure of having to work or pretty much act like an adult when she was an adult that has, has responsibilities towards their own family. And that pressure put her in a situation where she felt that, well, technically I'm working, I'm providing, so therefore I'm an adult, so I'm going to act like an adult. It's really sad. I saw her documentary. I think the documentary was and is still in on YouTube, and I saw the different parts of it, and I always thought, wow, it must be really hard to struggle so much with substance abuse, being in situations where you're completely unhappy with your life and things down the road are looking like much darker. You don't see a way out of the situation where you are in. I used to think a bit like, well, I understand why these actors and actresses that started on TV since they were much younger, I kind of understood a little bit that, oh yeah, there must be like a struggle going from being a teenager to then become an adult. But I always thought that the biggest struggle was actually trying to prove to the industry that they are no longer kids, because they get known for being these big shows that are super popular, everybody knows about it, but all of us have the image of them still being kids. So when they become adults, it's a very hard transition, because the public is still seeing them as kids. So I thought that this was the part where they would struggle the most, because to get other jobs, when you are known for a specific show, it must be very hard to be then seen again as a person that can do other shows and are adults, because at the end of the day you're working for Disney. There is mostly children and teenager related content, maybe not anymore, but at the time. And then you want to do movies where you're going to act like a full adult, an adult with like issues and complexities and so on. So I thought that was the main issue most of the time. But I've never considered, never is a stretch, but I didn't really consider that the idea that they have to provide for their own family would be too stressful for them. I thought, well, this child is, going to these shows. They are obviously probably working very long hours. I know that there are rules for this nowadays for the quantity of hours, so that we respect the time that they need to rest. But I thought, well, kids are a little bit clueless, so they do their shows, and they're probably finding it nice and fun. But at the end of the day, the parent understands that they are there, therefore they are making money. So there are costs associated with all of that. But the thought that your parents, depending on your situation, they kind of rely on you as a child to provide for them, it must be a very heavy thing to have to relate to. Because one thing is having, maybe, I don't know their circumstance, I'm not sure if Demi Lovato grew up with mom and dad in the same house, but if she was only with the mom, and the mom has to take her to auditions and later on take her to the show, it must be very hard to be like, if my child is sick, how am I going to take her today? We have to go regardless of her being sick, because you start to depend on your child to be always like, happy and so on, to go to work. It must be horrendous on the child to have to realize that they can't even be sick. They can't be normal children going out with their friends. They have to be this child celebrity. And that must be a lot of pressure for a person in such a young age.
Grateful and for everything that I've been through. But it was really challenging. There wasn't a lot of time for play, but when I did, I played pretty hard.
I mean, that's very. I know we didn't want any of the drama. I know we didn't want any of the drama of it, but I feel like people don't understand like that's what we was dealing with.
Yeah.
I found myself dating. I'm 15. Why is my boyfriend 20?
Why was my boyfriend 30?
Girl,
you know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Like,
I'm not smiling at that, but that is real. We was trying to find outlets, though.
Outlets,
I don't think,
and also
just a way to process this, and nobody our age, I mean,
could understand. Nobody our age could understand. But then you look back in hindsight, when I turned 30, I was like, that's not okay.
Girl, the moment when you realize and you get the age that a lot of people that were around you and doing stuff, it's almost a mental break that can happen, because you realize you were taking advantage of. Oh, I was being exploited.
Yeah.
Oh, was very difficult for me when because at 15 I'm thinking like my boyfriend's older because I'm doing an older job and I'm doing a bunch of things and this is the way that it is, and it seemed normal in my mind. But then especially if you're an older soul too, especially if you're mature for your age. I love the Hillary Duff song.
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah, because it's like y'all had the same damn life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where people kept telling us you're so mature for your age.
I also wrote a song about that. It's called 29. And when you listen to it, I think you'll be able to relate to it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was very excited to talk to you because I knew that we were going to.
So this is very interesting, because this looks like a roller coaster in the sense of these children, they are treated as halfway adults because they have to go to work, they have a lot of responsibilities, but then that affects their mind because they start to think that they are adults. They don't understand that they are still children. So I think I'm not really the person to blame parents for everything. I think as a society, I don't think we prepare teenagers properly for them to understand I'm still a child. I'm not an adult. I'm not, responsible for every single thing that happens in my life, regardless of, them being a child that works on a TV show or a child that plays professional sports. You still need your parents to guide you the best they can in order for you to. You're always going to make mistakes, but one thing is making certain mistakes and not understanding, but like knowing beforehand that that could be a mistake. And something completely different is when you're experiencing things for the first time and you are like clueless about how to handle yourself in certain situations. um, I can fully relate that when you are, especially as a girl, when you are a teenage girl, you're going to have so many different predators around you. People that just want to either exploit you because of work, people that want to, take advantage of you more in a physical kind of way. And again, without some mental support, it's going to be very hard for a teenager to navigate this world, because you do need that support. Maybe as a parent you can't give it. I don't know, finding like friends that your kid finds more comfortable to speak with, but somebody needs to be able to provide some support. And obviously if you can afford it, take it to a psychologist. But this is teenage years. I remember very well. They were some of the most complicated years of my entire life. Really, being an adult is very hard, but being a teenager, it's horrendous. It's literally that kind of thing that I do not want to do it again. Don't want to go through that drama again, that stress of figuring out who you are, what you want. It's not good. It's not good. So I feel for them that they had to go through so many complicated situations until they figure out who they want to be.
Going to be able to relate to so much of these things. But in speaking of that, like people might think, well, you're surrounded by other people. There's Miley Cyrus and there's Selena Gomez, but there's a lot of competition that the industry put in those times, especially when we were kids. I almost felt like a lot of times, me being black, I was kind of left out of the conversation. Like, people weren't really involving me in it. Which it's kind of was positive. I feel like in a lot of ways, because I felt like I would be watching on the outside a lot of those different mechanisms happening, and I would be kind of like, okay, that's interesting. How was it for you trying to make friendships when you have these corporations, using us all as products, and then always pitting like who's the number one girl? Like that makes it hard to actually become friends with people that might relate to your experience.
Well, what was beautiful is Selena and I had a friendship prior to Disney Channel because we actually were on Barney together. And so I felt this safety when I came into the Disney Channel having a built-in friendship there already. And I'm so grateful for that. We'll always be grateful for the friendship that I have and continue to have with her. But it was challenging when people are comparing you to one another, and you naturally have insecurities at a young age, so you start comparing yourself to other people. But one thing my mom always instilled in me was like, there's room for everyone. It's not a competition. And even though there are, like, it can be competitive, and if you have that mindset, it definitely is competitive. My mom was just always like, there's room for everyone, and you have your own voice, your own lane. And that's what I really stuck by. And that's what kind of got me through that period. So, like, I was always rooting for everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a really great advice from her mom, but I don't think that advice would have worked for me. I think when I was younger, I was always comparing myself to others. I had this complexity over the way my hair looks, the way it behaves, and everybody's, especially in the class that I was, everybody's hair was completely different, much finer, not such a big volume. I did compare myself a lot to others. I wasn't, I never thought I had to be the most beautiful person in class, nothing like that. But I was like, I didn't feel really attractive. Even though, boys would approach me, I didn't feel that I was like attractive, especially intelligent enough. Intelligence was something that used to bother me a lot when I was a child. Because I could be very good at certain things, but then I did not have enough of a discipline to be able to be as good in other things or to focus time to do those things well. So I would only focus on like subjects that I like and leave the rest to just pass, not to become like excellent at them. So I struggle a lot with this intelligence part. I never thought I was them, but I was always in a class with like full of girls that they were good looking, and then they were also incredibly intelligent, and I don't know, they just it just felt that they had a stable life, and I was like all over the place. So I find it very difficult to not compare myself to other people when I was a teenager. As an adult, fine, but as a teenager, that was really difficult for me.
It is true that everybody has their own lane, and it is difficult though sometimes in those spaces for that to be able to be made clear.
Yes.
But I just think back and it's like I often wonder, what if I did share a little bit more about what I was experiencing instead of being so insulated and afraid? What more friendships I could have made with my peers? Because I'm not friends with a lot of people in our industry. Because I was always, for me as a kid, being on those sets and working, and like I said, being considered marginalized in a lot of ways. I was kind of like, let me just go to work, do my job, whatever. But I think about it now, especially when so many of us have shared our stories, or even the documentaries you did, where you were speaking to other people in our career path, where it was like, damn, I wonder if we, if we was able to really express ourselves more, how many more of us could have at least created a safe space with each other.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to talk about it now.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
When did you feel like this kind of zooming out started happening for you? Were you able to kind of separate from, your childhood and see what you experienced with new set of eyes? When would you say that started happening for you?
When I had like this breakdown right after this Camp Rock 2 tour that I did. I had an incident where I basically had a breakdown, and it caused me to do a lot of reflection. And so a couple years after going through that and going through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a step in there. The 9th step is to make amends. So I had to make amends to a lot of people, saying like, I'm sorry I was so challenging to work with at the time. I was so miserable in my own skin and dealing with what I was going through that I wasn't the nicest person to work with at the time. And I think
to think that she was struggling with an eating disorder, and then at the same time she was consuming other things, like alcohol, drugs, whatever. Wow. The thought that she's still able to be here today, as in today when they filmed this, the thought that she's still like alive today, trying to fight through all these mental issues that she has been dealing with, it's extraordinary, because I haven't came across many people that have the same issues, but maybe some mild alcohol issues, and I can already see that it's really hard. It's really hard and something really heavy to have to deal with. The thought that she had that plus an eating disorder, it must have been really hard on her parents and the people that were like next to her, like friends and so on. It must have been super difficult.
Everything, and like I wanted to right my wrongs, and so that was like a few years after Disney Channel, and then I've continued to reflect, and over the years I've just gained more and more compassion, especially after shooting Child Star. Just getting to have conversations with people that were in the same position as I was really impactful, and it made me really reflective on that as well. And so yeah, I've continued to have grace and compassion for myself.
What I love so much that you said that I think is really important, I want to pull it out because I think it applies to anyone, is that we get into these, we don't even know sometimes the decisions that we're making are because we're hating ourselves for things we did to survive.
Yes. Oh my God.
You know what I mean? That's so important what you just said, because a lot of times we don't know why we're putting ourselves in these situations, but we're putting ourselves in situations that aren't really helping us. They're actually hurting us, and it's actually because we're mad at ourselves.
Yes.
And we're mad at ourselves about we were just trying to do to move forward. Like whatever bad attitude or whatever you were doing that was making you difficult, it's like that's what you had to do to get through. You know what I'm saying? But
and I mean, I was 17.
You know what I mean?
16.
You said something before too that I really relate to, where you said, "I wish somebody had told me I was beautiful," because at the time you didn't believe it. I mean, if somebody did tell you that. Because I think when we hear beautiful, we just think like on the surface, but it's different. I imagine you mean something so much more deeper than just beautiful, but just like I'm important beyond this or what I'm servicing.
Well, the reality was I had so many people telling me I was beautiful. I had millions of people online or in person, fans that I would meet, "You're so beautiful," or whatever it was. But I guess what I was saying with that sentiment was like, I wanted someone to see me, and I wanted someone to experience me. And I think like I wanted someone to see my soul, even though my soul was hurting. Like I wanted to be experienced as a human. And also the fact of the matter was like I was really struggling with my body image and my self-worth, and like to be told you're beautiful, like I wouldn't have even been able able to hear it because I was struggling so deeply.
It's very interesting that so I can't, I'm not a guy, so I can't really, I don't know how it would be for guys, but it's very interesting that for a woman, when we are struggling with the way we look, could be because of our body type, could be, as I had issues with my hair, somebody with their lips. It feels that because we are struggling with these things, we find it very difficult to be called beautiful, because my way of seeing, my perspective on this, obviously, for us, being beautiful, it means being like a whole beautiful person. So if we are struggling, in her case, Demi Lovato was struggling with mental issues. For her, if you tell her it's beautiful, it doesn't even click, because she knows that deep down she's going through something that is like so bad that as a person, she probably it's not as desirable, because a desirable person is a person that has their shit together, basically. It's never a person that is like struggling but at the same time looking good. So I think for women, it's this thing of like we pick and choose different parts of ourselves and our bodies that we don't like so much. And so when somebody says that we look good, we don't really take it serious. It's most like, oh, thank you. But it doesn't really go for, it doesn't really stay in our head. It's something that we hear from one side, comes out from the other. So for us, at times there is like a deeper meaning to what it is to be beautiful, what it is to be attractive. So it's very interesting to see how other women talk about this.
A victim to that, we're just constantly going to compare ourselves to other people for the rest of our lives, and it's so. And I fall victim to it too. I, buy the skincare, I buy the products, I get a little Botox or whatever it is, like
body, really.
right. And like, but I do have to check myself sometimes and be like, all of this is gonna fade at some point, and what's left is gonna be my soul. How I attract people is not going to come from the outside; it's going to come from within. And if I can start doing that now, like that's, I don't know, that's the type of person I want to be. I want to exude beauty from my heart and not just from my skin.
What is being seen and experienced? Because I really love how you put that, because I really relate to it. What does it look like for you, for people to really, when people really are seeing you, the people in your life that get a chance to know you, what does it mean when you feel like they're seeing you and they're experiencing the real you?
Yeah, I think last night I sent a picture to one of my best friends in the world. Her name is Allie. I sent a picture with like my silk hair cap on, my retainer in, and my glasses on right before bed, and was like, and it's like she's seeing the real me. My husband sees the real me every time we go to bed and wake up in the morning. He sees the real me, and it's just like, it's flaws and all, and there's still acceptance. And what's important is there's love there, and that connection is the most important thing to me in my life. My career is so important to me, but it could all go away as long as I have my friends and my family and my husband. Like, that's what's so important to me.
I think we've watched most of the interview. I think right now it's just things that I can just watch on my own time. Just an overview of the entire interview. Hello. It was. I'm happy to see Demi Lovato giving an interview where she talks about extremely serious and difficult things that she went through, but it's still something that feels very light. So it's almost if she's sharing this information with you, and because Keke Palmer is so fun and enthusiastic, she kind of balances out a little bit with, okay, we spoke about something serious, now let's jump to something else. And it allows us to see all these different sides of Demi Lovato. I'm not one of the fans that knows so much about her. I only see, what's online on occasion, but it was really nice to see her being light. It's nice to see that she may not be struggling as much as she was struggling in the past. It's nice to see that she keeps, fighting through whatever issues she's having these days, but it's nice to see her in a different light. It's nice to see that even though things have been difficult, she's still trying to do her best to be the best. And I subscribe to Keke Palmer's channel, by the way. I'm going to see more of her interviews. She's really fun. I didn't know much about her, so I'm going to see a few of the interviews to see if I get to know a little bit more about her. So yeah, I think overall really good interview. I'm definitely going to sign up and continue watching it. Anyway, I hope you like this video. See you next time. Bye.